You've watched my previous videos, you've applied the settings, and you've even went ahead and you've shot your own video. Congratulations, my friend. Cheers. But when you played it back, you realized that something is off.
Forgot my lines again.
Too slow, the pacing isn't right. Now, my friend, that's where editing comes in. And that's what we're going to be treating in this video. Let's go. Today, I'm going to show you how I approach editing in DaVinci Resolve. No fluff at all. I'll be using a real 30 seconds video in this class. So ensure to stick around to the end so that you don't miss anything. And if DaVinci Resolve feels too much for you, I'm just simply going to do the same thing in CapCut. No pressure. You don't need crazy transitions. You don't need effects. You only need to do a few simple things right. This is something most people don't realize. Editing doesn't start here. It starts when you are filming. This is a simple example. Record more than one take. At the end of the day, what do we all really want? At the end of the day, what do we all want? Try a wide angle shot and then do a bit of a close-up. We all want one thing, and it's visibility. Then try it again and see what works well for your story. The bottom line is you want to give yourself a lot of options when it's time to edit, so you prepare for that while filming. Remember this, good editing comes in when you give yourself a lot of choices. So right here on my desktop, I'm going to crank up DaVinci Resolve, and then DaVinci Resolve will get to work and it will open DaVinci Resolve. So the first thing I do here is project. So that will help me set up my project correctly. So I'm going to come here, click on that. What will I call this? I need to come up with a name for our project. I'll call it Voice 1, and then I'll click Create. In DaVinci Resolve, don't be alarmed when you come in here. It's not a difficult thing. Right here on my timeline is empty and I have pages down here. These are very simple things that will save you a lot of stress. 1, back up your files. 2, organize them. 3, name your files if you can. You really don't need to be perfect here, but I advise you, don't be messy. Before you open your editing software, you're going to have to organize your project. So this is what I do every single time. So if I click on that folder, you can see on my desktop here, I have 4 folders prepared for this project. Inside of A row, my talking head. Inside of B row, supporting clips to drive my point home. Inside of photo, my other assets like photos and graphics. Inside of sound, my music and sound effects. And then we go to DaVinci Resolve. So while in DaVinci Resolve, we are simply going to recreate those folders so that we have the folders represented inside of DaVinci Resolve. So we keep everything organized inside DaVinci Resolve as well. If I right click on this blank space, see new bin, I'm going to see import media. What I want to do is to click on new bin, and then it will open a folder. So what I will do is to call this A row as we had it on the desktop. I will do the same for others. So once the folders have been created, I will click into each one of them and then import media. This will give me access to the one for arrow. I'll click on arrow, I'll import the media. Right click on that empty space, import media, and then I go to my desktop and then go to the folder, import photo. I'll bring everything in, boom. I'll go back to sound, I'll right click, import media to the folder, import sound. I will take all the sound that I have here, import them. That's it. Now, if you come down here below, here is where file management is, where you can organize all your files. We move to the cut. Cut is typically where I do all my cutting. Editing is where the main workflow is done. That is where you lay out your clips and then do all the chop downs and remove all the unwanted things that you have inside of your clip. Next is Fusion. Imagine you have finished your video and you want to give it all the special effects that you can possibly give a video. Inside of Fusion is where you do all of that. But I'm not going to concern myself with Fusion because Fusion is way, 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 way advanced for what we're trying to do here. The next is color page. Color page is simply where you now dial in color corrections, color grading, and all of that good stuff. This is by far my most exciting place in DaVinci Resolve. The next page is Fairlight. Fairlight is basically for sound editing, for your audio, for your sound. It just helps you to dial in all the creativity that you have at the back of your mind for your video. The last one is Deliver. Deliver simply is where we dial in all the export settings for our clips so that our video is well optimized for social media or wherever platforms you upload your video to. Now, where I am going to really work is edit. Here on edit, I can now start bringing in my clips onto the timeline and start chopping down. What is editing really? At its core, editing is something that I have coined CUT, an acronym for Cut Unwanted Takes. Simple. Whatever happens after that is just icing on the cake. In this editing page, now we cut properly. I remove mistakes, remove long pauses, and then remove repetition. That's it. If you look up at the left side of the screen, you can see all my folders here. I'm going to open the A-roll folder to make sure that you take several shots of every line of your story. So I'm going to just click on it and drag it onto my timeline. If I shrink it down here, you can see that I have taken this particular shot several times. If I play a quick segment of the first take, you hear it. Okay, so if you come to my second or third takes, forgot my lines again. Exactly. So you can see it's not always perfect, and that's the reason why we need to edit, right? So I'm going to just start chopping down right here. You are a human being in this world with a voice. So what are you going to do with it? Two ways I can do it is I can also come to this page right here. Here, it's going to help me simplify what I can use and what I cannot use. So what I need to do is just to double click on that clip, and then it's going to open another window here for me. For instance, I want to actually just take off this part. I can set a point here and hit I on the keyboard, which will set an in position. And then I can shift the playhead. Supposing this is what I want, I can come here. Let's do in here. I think this is the one I want. I'll do in here. Close to 40% of that whole clips. I only need about 30% of that whole clip from the several takes in that line. So I'll do my out point by clicking on O, and then I'll simply just come here and drag it to the timeline. As you can see, there is a preview timeline here, and there's another bigger view here down here in the timeline. So now this is not where all the editing is going to take place. Then I'll need to come to edit page where I can see everything vividly and clearly. So now I have what I need in that clip. I can just go ahead and delete this particular clip, bring this together. So if I should play, maybe right about there would do. I can cut it here. I hit H because I have set H as my shortcut for cutting. Another way I can cut it, if I click on that blade icon, I'll just come here and then you see the blade icon is there, then I can cut. So if I zoom in here real quick, if I hit on letter A, it will give me select tool. I can select it and then click and remove. So if I click on the timeline and right click on it again, it will give me this repo delete. If I click on repo delete, it will automatically shift it to the end of the timeline like so. So basically that's what it is. I'm going to speed up this process so that we don't dwell on here for too long. So right now, as you can see, the first clip had dragged onto the timeline has been completely chopped down. I have removed all my quiet spots and then remove all the mistakes. And so that should be able to get me ready to just bring in the next clip and then chop it down as well. But before I do that, you see in the middle right here is the point where I walked all the way down to like my second position in my script to say the next line. One thing. So now this portion, I sense that it would be a little bit boring. You know, it's not a hard and fast rule. You don't have to do this in your storytelling. I just feel like I should do something to this particular clip. So how I'm going to do it is I'm going to create an effect that connotes the passage of time by freezing this whole clip. But before I freeze it, I'm going to have to chop them down into smaller bits. So how I do that is I would look for where the movement is. This is probably first movement right here. I'm going to cut that by hitting key H for my shortcut, and then I'm going to move forward again. I'll put another cut right about there. I'm going to move forward and put another cut. I'm going to move forward again and put another cut, and then maybe another cut here. Now the aim and purpose of this, I want to freeze those clips, all right? So if I come here, I will put a freeze on that. By clicking on that clip, I will highlight that clip and then come to the clips property here. On the clips property, you see speed change. I will click on that. This freeze icon right here, I will click on it. That will freeze my clip, and then I will take out the back one. If I click on my arrow key here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's as much as I need, and then I will chop down that one again. I will do the same thing to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6, so that at the end of the day, I will show you what the effect creates. I would also now fast forward this point so that you will understand how it was done. I'm going to play back the clips, and so you see what the effect creates. Exactly how I want it. Now I bring down the second clip or the second line of my story here so that I chop it down as well. So the way I edit this, just as I'm about to sit down, all right, I can now cut that bit. So we are done with our first segment of this editing. The next thing is to apply transitions. To apply transitions, if you come to the effect panel on top of the page right there, you can find any effect that you want. But to keep this simple, I have effects that I have already selected for my everyday workflow. Supposing you happen here on the very first time, what you want to do is to click on the search icon. Whenever you type in transitions, it's going to bring down or bring out a whole bunch of transitions they have in their library, okay? I'm just going to take you through the ones that I use regularly in my workflow, which is if you come here, you see them down here. For just simplicity, I will pick something like this and drag it onto the joint. But if you stretch it out here, it stays longer, or it happens for much longer. The longer it is, the slower the effect. But if you close it up, right about there is where I would love it. Then it happens quicker or much faster. All right, quickly to continue, I thought to show you how that works. I'll delete the transition effect here because I really don't want it there. So now you'll need to understand that transitions aren't so important. You only apply them where you really need them. If you want to be even a good storyteller with your editing, you want to make sure that you apply effects that actually contribute to your message or to your storytelling, not just using effects and transitions because they are there. The next thing I do is to boost the volume a little bit. by selecting all my clips here, and then I will go to the panel up here where I have all my metadata or asset values. So I click on that. You see the slider here where you see volume. I'm just going to type in there 3.2 dB. That should be enough. I just want to be able to boost the loudness a little bit. Let's continue. If I come here, another thing I would like to do is to now start adding my B-roll by going to media pool up here in the page. So if I click on master, it will take me back to the main page where I have all my folders. Next is B-roll. Typically, once I'm done cutting down, I go through my clips over and over again to make sure that I have everything well done so that it contributes to the story I'm trying to tell. So you want to do the same thing. I'll just start dragging down my B-roll. I listen and then know exactly where to place this particular one. So where it says you are a human being in this world with a voice, if you double click on that clip up there, you are able to preview it on the screen. You also can set your in and out point on this particular preview. So I would hit the I button to set my in point here and then move forward. You see where I moved closer to the tree, I will set an out point there and simply just drag it to the timeline. Now the reason you want to do this is so you don't drag the whole clip onto the timeline. Imagine I drag this whole clip onto the timeline. Then I'm having to drag everything onto the timeline, both the things that I want and the things that I don't want. So I don't like that. It's going to make your timeline really, really clumsy and untidy. So you don't want that. So what I'm going to do is to delete it. So that's the reason why you want to set the in and out point right in the folder and pick just what you want, not both what you want and what you don't want. So I have my clip right there. So I'm going to drag it onto the edge here. So right here, another effect. What I'm going to do is I'm going to count backwards 1, and then I will cut 1, cut 1, cut 1, cut. So I have 4. So if I zoom into the clip, so what I'm going to do to create another effect is to select those two and then delete those two. So this is what it does when it comes to that place. You see that? Because I'm transitioning to another clip. Okay, so from the beginning, if I come here, I will cut this one right here. I'm going to give it a slight movement. I really don't like for my videos to be static. I want something to always be moving. So how I do that is there's something called keyframe. Keyframe helps you to animate stuff. Can animate object, coloring, text, graphics, anything at all you can animate with keyframes. So how you achieve that is you set an in point to show you what keyframes look like. These are keyframes right here, those diamond looking buttons. So if I come here and set a keyframe, I want this particular clip to start zooming in by itself. So how I do that is I set an in point here. If I toggle it, it turns red, that means it's on. If I toggle it again, it turns white, that means it's off. But I want it on, so I will toggle it on. So I would set an in point of 1.000, right? If I move all the way to the top here and then increase that value to maybe 1.050, you will see it's going to slowly start moving. You see that? So I like that. And then I'm going to chop off this silence here because I want everything to move quicker. I will close that gap and then increase this point to 1.080 so that it just suddenly continues from there, right? Then it goes. I would let it be simple. Yeah, I like it how simple it is. One thing. Yeah, I like this one closer. Beautiful. All right, so we're still doing B-roll. This part, I will shift it to what are you going to do with it? I like it there where it was asking the question. I like it better here. So I will shift this one back here, then shift this other one closer to it. So some people chase after attention. I'm going to use the second clip. The second clip is very simple to place. Don't forget, we're still doing B-roll. I will shift it to some other bring real value. Some others bring real value. Yeah, I'll rather use where he's doing something, where he's taking an action, and chop off the rest of it. I'll hit H and remove that. So I would repeat the same thing. One, cut, one, cut, one, cut. So I have 4 chopped down. I will select and delete right there. Right there. There's something I like to do here. I would simply just cut that and cut that, cut that. I'm just applying effect. When I come here to effect panel, favorite, that's where I keep all my favorite effects. So what I'm going to choose is invert color and put it on there, and then take this one and put it on the second one. So what that is going to just apply a bit of effect, but there's something I do to that particular one. If I come to the effect channel right here, I remove invert blue. So I am inverting the blue. The yellow seems to be the color that I vibe with most of the time. So that's basically it. So when we play it back, what we see is, you see that? Very subtle, and that's all I want. It doesn't have to be over the top. So basically, this is where we are currently. The next thing we're going to do is text. We come to Effect, go to Search, and type in basic title. I'll just simply drag and drop it here. Now, text is something you do to just highlight your points, so don't overthink it. Okay, so the first question here, what are you going to do with it? I'd like to emphasize that. All right, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to change the text to Optima. Optima is my personal preference. You can pick what is applicable to you, okay? I'm going to do extra bold. That's how I like it. So I will drag it on here and then just duplicate it. So this is how I find it easy. And then I will change the color to what I like. Then I will click OK. You don't have to do exactly what I am doing, but this is how I love to do my text. So you see the exact place where the word what happens, that's where I'm going to put the what. If I click on setting right here, to type it, you simply click on the title and type. Type in this box, it will appear here. Now to move it around, I'm going to have to do settings and then shift the position. The position has y-axis and then the x-axis. If I move the x, it either moves to right or left. If I move the y-axis, it either moves up or down. Basically, that's how that works. So I'm going to move the x-axis to come to the side just a little bit and then move the y-axis to move it to the top, all right? And then what are, I click on the title and then go to settings, shift the x-axis to move it to the side. R, U, U. So the way I typically do it, I'll put it on top. What are you? And then what are you going? Come to settings, move it down here, move it up. So I have actually done the text. I've written everything that needs to be written. And then I just need to line them up with the word. All right, so that's how I like it. Once I have it done that way, I can now come and delete the excess. But if you notice, this thing is towering up. I want to reduce it. And how I do that is to create what you call compound clip. Compound clip simply means putting all of them into one single clip. So I will select them, right click. So the top here, you see new compound clip. I will click on that, it will open this. So I'll call it text one and then create. If you create it, this is what you're going to see. So it has compressed all of them. If I play it, all right, that's how I put text on it. The next thing I will do is to come to the end here. That's another point that I would like to emphasize, all right? So I'll come here, come to title, come here and type visibility. So change the color, pick that tool, and that's the color that I want. Send it all the way to the end and then click OK. Bring it down here, reduce the y-axis so it comes to the bottom. I really like it to be bigger, so I like it to come in where I set visibility. So now we have cut our clips and we have placed our B-roll, we have done our effects and transitions. The next thing we're going to do on the editing program is sound effect. Now we're going to go back to media pool, go back to master where all our folders are, of course. What I'm going to do is to open that folder. The reason why I labeled this sound effect is because I don't want to have to be scrolling through my library endlessly. Now imagine you have hundreds of these sounds here. You can't possibly go through all of them. So what you want to do is to hit the search icon here and you can type in the name of what you're looking for. In this case, I want the shutter. It will show me all the shutter sounds. As you can see, it makes your work easier to do while editing. I think this is the one I want. Yeah, that's the one I want. I'll simply take it and drag it to the timeline. I'm going to use it where I froze the clips. So it will give you that shutter effect and drag them to position. So it's going to be like this. I'll put one here. Before I start duplicating it, the volume of that thing, you really don't want it to be too loud. So I'm going to reduce that a little bit. So I like that level. And then I'll put another one here, maybe put another one here. And then I'll just copy and paste them. So if we play it back, I love that. Another thing I would like to add here is the glitch. I come back to the folder, then I'll simply type in glitch. So as you can see, it just makes it easier. I'll take my glitch right here. Now for the glitch, I'm not going to use the whole length of that audio. I'm just going to cut that because I want it to be very realistic. I'll reduce the volume to the barest minimum and then I will duplicate it. I'll copy it rather, and then bring it down to the second one and paste it there. All right, that's simply how it's gonna go. So the next thing I want to do is music. I'll come back to my folder real quick, and then I'll come to sound again, type music right there. So I'll drag it onto the timeline. Be careful where you drop it so that you don't erase things that you have done back here. So before the music comes in, there's something I'd like to add that's called a riser. I don't want the music to just come in abruptly. I want something to lead to that, kind of like sound transition, you know what I mean? So I'll come in here and type riser. Okay, I think I like that one better. I'll put it in the beginning. I mean, you don't have to do this, but it goes a long way to add more value to your video. So the point where it hits its climax is the point where the music will come in. I like the rising effect. You are a human being in this world with a voice. So what are you going to do with it? Some people chase after attention, and some other bring. I like that. I have one more sound effect to go. I'll cut this one here and delete that. You see, when I sat on the chair, I want to put a sound effect there by coming to here and type in chair. That's our chair right there. Right before my butt hit the seat. Yeah, but still loud. I'll need to reduce that audio to the barest minimum. Yep, I like that level. Yeah, you try not to do it too much. The text needs to be cut from here so it doesn't bump into the other clip. Yeah, I like that. So now we're done with everything that has to do with this side. It's time to actually give your audio some love. So how you achieve that is, I'm going to try as much to simplify this. Now, if you come to the screen here, the waveform of the audio, you realize that not all the clips are at the same level. Some are bigger than the others. So what we're going to attempt to do is to normalize it so that they are all at the same level. None is louder than the other. So I'm going to select everything, then right click on it, and then come to normalize audio level. As you can see, is on YouTube preset. Usually when you come here the first, you probably will see this on relative. If you say relative, then you're saying relative to the sound already available in the audio. You don't want that. You want independent, so that at the end of the day, when you activate the preset or when you activate the setting, it's going to normalize the audio across board. That will ensure that your audio has a better quality. But let's move on. Here you see YouTube. What you're going to do is to scroll to the top here and activate sample peak. Sometimes I use YouTube. You also need to understand that this is going to absolutely depend on your specific audio, because you want to make sure that your audio is well recorded from the get-go, even before you get to post-production, so that everything is already fine before you even need to do enhancement in editing. So I'm going to activate that, and then I'll click on normalize. As you can see, once I clicked on that normalize button, the waveform tend to increase in volume. So that means that we have successfully taken care of our audio. But if you really want to take things a step further, you remember in the beginning of this video, I talked about the fact that we can edit our audio on Fairlight. If I click on Fairlight here, take note that the audio track is on A1. So if I come to Fairlight, you can see that audio right here is on A1, and then you want to make sure you activate the A1 track. Be deliberate. So if I click on A1 track here, the aim and purpose of this is to activate some kind of compression to our audio. If you don't do anything else to what we have done so far, you'll be fine. Your audio will be clean and it will be clear. But I take it a little bit further than that, by applying compression. So once I click on that, this box will pop open, okay? And when you do this, make sure you are wearing a headphone so that you can easily monitor your sound effectively. And so I will play and then turn on compressor and then monitor the sound. Basically, that's all you do here. You are a human being in this world with a voice. So what are you going to do with it? Some people chase after. So I just fill it out. Like here, if you look at this knob here, it's called threshold. Threshold just helps you put a max on the loudness of the sound that you hear. So it's nothing complicated. You just listen to your audio and see where you need to apply that compression so that it's not too loud. For my case here, I'm just going to drop it to the mid level there, and that will be it. I'm not going to do much. Don't go crazy with this and destroy your audio. And then wherever I realize that the audio is too low in volume, I'll just simply nudge that slider a little bit upward so that it's at par with the other levels. And then when you do this, make sure your eyes are on the levels here so that you're not hitting red. I think I'm satisfied with what I have here. The next thing you want to do is to make sure that you reduce your music so that the music stays in the background and it's not overpowering your voice. So the next thing I'm going to do is color grading, and this is where I feel excited. For me, cutting and chopping down other clips can be very boring. and I think it is for a lot of people. We are going to go to the color page, doing a bit of a color correction right here. So it's not going to be so much. I'll quickly explain. Now in the color page tab, what you see here, I'm going to take some time to explain what the tools do. We're going to simply just do exposure, brightness, and color. Then also we're going to take some time to do the white balance, just to make sure that everything is well dialed in and our skin tone looks correct. Okay, so how we do that is I'm going to take the playhead back to the beginning. If you look at this particular place here, is the replica of the timeline we had in the editing page. This is the timeline, but when you come to the color page, it renders differently. Now when you get here, do not get confused. These are tools that we're going to use to make sure the colors of this video come out really looking good. So if you look at this place, this is the RGB waveform, and then if I click on here where you see parade, click on there, you see all of the tools will drop. This is the RGB waveform that we're currently looking at, and then this is the waveform, and it helps to balance things out. I will explain shortly. And then this is the vetroscope, what we need to make sure our skin tone balances. You see the middle line here, our skin tone is supposed to fall in that middle line, and how you turn on that line is hit this button right here. You see show skin tone indicator. If I toggle off, you can see the skin indicator is gone, but we need to turn it on. So when you tick on that, it will come on so that we'll be able to monitor our skin tone. Is that understood so far? So let's go. So once I'm here, I need to come back to RGB parade. As you can see, on the top here is the highlight. On the bottom here is what represents the shadows. Currently, our highlight is shooting through the roof, maybe because of the sky here. Ideally, it's not supposed to do that. If I should come here and pull this all the way down, let me undo. If I should come here and pull this down, you can see that it pulls down the top of that roof there. So I'll reset that. So what we're going to attempt to do is to make sure that nothing is clipping, everything is in place. And then on here is node. See the node as layers, all right? Layers of coloring. So, or see them as folders. So any color effect that we apply here is going to be applied to the node. So if I right click here, I'm going to start by labeling my node. How I am able to turn on this node is by hitting Option S, another one will pop up, and I hit another one will pop up. So basically we need to have this on a straight line. So I'm going to have to label them in a bit. I'll call this white balance. All right, and then I'll right click and this will pop up. And I'll call this exposure, and then maybe I'll call this color. So whatever it is you do, you just name it, and that's what it is. It's not a hard and fast rule. The reason you want to label them is you don't get confused, because later you realize, oh, the shadow is too dark, the highlights are clipping, and you want to adjust them, so you know exactly where to go to do that adjustment. Once I come here, I'm going to hit on this tab here. Now this is where we apply all the color grading or all the color correction. The first thing I like to do is I'll come to this tool right here. Make sure this tab is on, not here, but here. So if I come here, what the first thing I want to do is I am selecting my first node here. I'll simply come here, click on this eyedropper tool, and look for anything that is white in this particular clip, and I will click on it. So that will help me recorrect or correct my white balance. As you can see, sometimes it works very well, some other times it doesn't. So basically I have done my white balance, and then I will move to exposure. Don't forget, we're keeping it simple. See, watch the waveform. The waveform helps us, guides us properly to be able to dial in the colors that we need to dial in, because our eyes don't always see colors correctly. So the waveform is here to guide us to be able to dial in the right settings so that our videos come out looking correct with colors. Another way I can do this to reset that is come to the curve here. If I come to the curve here and hit this button, it will give me the curve. All right, so I will quickly need to set a simple S curve here. I will reduce this a little bit. As I'm reducing it, look at this is moving. I'm watching that. If I do this, you see how it goes dark completely. You don't want that. So if I reset it, I'll just simply push it in such a way that is slightly below the first line there. And then I still have a bit of a space for the shadow. And then I can easily just pull all the way here so that the shadow is not too dark. This area represents the shadow, the dark areas of the image or of the video or the clips, if you will. So, and then I'll come here and create a little bit of an S curve. Just push it slightly. As you can see, the mid section here is coming up. That's our image being corrected. And then I'll put another point here. Make sure you do it ever so carefully. Right there. Right there. So I will just simply leave that here. I won't do too much on it. And then if we toggle this off and off, we can already see the difference that we have made. Or if we come here and toggle it off and on, we can easily just see the difference we have made. Maybe we should apply a little bit more. All right. So basically that's what we're going to do here. And then I'll come back to this tab right here. And then I'll hit the color node and then boost the color a little bit. And I'll just boost it a little bit. And then come here, do the color boost it slightly. If I come here and toggle it, you can see the difference. The colors are popping more right now. So if I want to add a little bit of contrast, I can come to contrast here and add a little bit more. Just a little bit. There are those little changes that you apply to it that makes all the difference. You don't have to push it so much. See the difference? It's looking different already. So the next thing I want to do is, if you notice, we only did this on one clip. All right. So how do we now have this on all our clips? Now I'm not going to put it on the B-roll clips because the B-roll clips are different, or they were shot in a different light setting. So I'm not going to apply to the B-roll clip. So what I'm going to do is to copy the color grading that we just did. I need to copy it onto the other clips. So you don't do it individually. You don't go on individual clips to apply this effect. So what I'm going to do is just to come here, select the first one, make sure that the ring is on the first clip you did the color correction, spread it onto the rest of them. So I will just select all of them, including the last one. So, and come back to this first one and right click, look at apply grade. That's the one you need, and click on it. And then it will say replace. Just click on replace. It will copy it automatically onto the other clips. So if we come here now, you can see that that one is color graded. You come here, that one is color graded. So are these other ones. So we don't need to individually go in there and start color grading those separately. That would be a lot of work. You know what I mean? So as you can see, I like it. I like the way it looks, you know. So basically, this is what we're going to do for these clips. So this one too is color graded and corrected. And if we toggle it off and on here, you can see, you can easily just go in there and do a little bit of tweaking. Like this particular one, I can tell that the shadows are hitting the bottom. I don't want that to happen. So the only way I achieve that is to come to the exposure here and increase that exposure until I'm almost hitting the top line, and then I come here and then increase the bottom, not too much, just a little bit, so that the shadows are not too dark. I can also come to the curves here and just reduce it a little bit so that it looks better. Then reduce this and then come back to this page right here, and then just simply increase this a little bit, and then maybe a little bit more of the lift. So if we toggle off and on, you can see the difference. So the colors are coming alive. But another thing, because we did one clip, the colors are going to look cohesive across board. You're not going to have one looking different from the other one. That's the beauty of what I am doing here. All right, so with this one, it's a dark image. So what I'm going to just do to this one is to bring out the colors a little bit. I'll call this one shadow. So, and then I will hit Option X to open another node, and then I'll call this color. So now what I'll do is I'll come to the shadow. As you can see, the bottom of our waveform here, leave the shadow. All right, leave the highlights a little bit. Then maybe reduce the red, because as you can see, the red is higher than any other color in this clip. So I will push more blue up. And then the next thing I will do is to lift the gamma a little bit. Maybe right there would do. Still on shadow, I will increase contrast. Just a little bit contrast. I want that sky to pop with colors. And then I'll go to color, increase color. I'm going to really crank the color up because this is silhouette, then boost color, just so there'll be a little bit of saturation in the sky. So if I toggle off and on, you can see the difference. So I'd like to reduce some of that blue. I think I kind of like the way the sky was popping with the other one. So this is what I will do to this one. I will increase the mid section here a little bit. Basically, that's what I have to do here. And as you can see, I really won't do any more work here. Our video is ready. Congratulations, you just now learned how to make your first video. And this is a whole project. As you can see, the timeline is looking good. It's not looking unorganized at all. So you want to practice. Once your edit is done, head on to the Deliver page. But before you start, make sure you know exactly where you are going to send the file in your desktop so that you will not be all over the place looking for your video. Set your format to MP4, codec to H.264. Resolution is dependent on what you shoot at when you shot your video, but for this case, it's going to be 3840 by 2160. Which is a 4K resolution. Frame rate is going to be 24 frames per second. Then again, it depends on what you shoot at when you shot your video or when you film your video. If you shoot your video at 60 frames per second, it's going to be different. If you shoot your video at 30 frames per second, it's going to be different for your case. So take note of that. Audio AAC, 48,000 for sample rate. Stereo, add to render queue, hit render all, done. You're ready to receive your video at the other end. One thing you need to know is that don't ever feel like you need to know this whole thing on day one. Whatever editing software you're using, there's a learning curve, right? So you don't want to try to learn it in one day. The more you use these softwares for editing, the better you get. So don't feel overwhelmed. Don't feel like you need to know everything at one time. I hope you learned some value here. If you did, I want you to follow for more or subscribe for more classes like this. I want you to succeed. I want you to be a content creator that is confident to actually execute your work and show it in whatever platform you choose to show it. At the end of this video, I'm going to leave instructions for challenge you know, because the reason why I drop challenges in these videos is for you to be able to practice, because that's the best way to learn. If you have an opportunity to practice, you just simply get better over time as you keep practicing. So this is what this video is all about, and that's it. Over and out, and on to the next one.